guys, Pete here. Welcome back to another More Walk Monday. We've been talking about publishing options, self-publishing versus getting an actual publishing company, and I wanted to go over this new glorious book I just got. It's the Writer's Market, but instead of being the complete and total package, this is the smaller version, which is just novel and short story. So I've never purchased this one before. I've always gotten the big one and just, as you can see, picked out of it what I thought I would need. But I wanted to go through this one with you because like I said, I've never purchased it before. But this seems to be scaled down to what I would have found helpful in here. But I'm actually finding there's more than that I thought, would be in here to help. That's helpful. So let's just dive in. So obviously I'm not going to read a whole bunch of stuff out of here. If you think this would be helpful to you, get it yourself. It is a wonderful, wonderful, helpful book here. But okay, so there's a section that's craft and technique, and it goes through a few different things to help you refine your work as an author. Like this first part, mastering the art of complexity, how to incorporate conflict into your fiction, creating an antagonistic setting, anatomy of a great short story. And then I think it has a few little, oh, these are interviews? Okay, I thought they were little short stories. That's really cool. It talks about business basics. So it also gets into how the work you're going to have to do as an author besides creating your story. You can't just write a story and then expect your publishing company to do everything for you. A good author, I believe, a good author is going to have to do a lot of work outside of actually creating the story. You have to have your hand in the creation of its success, or I don't know that you really had a big part in it. Yeah, you write the story, but you got to do the work to get it out there too. So this talks about business basics, how you submit proposals, approaching markets, how you do your manuscript. What I felt really, really, really helpful in the previous ones is your query letter, and it gave examples of query letters. I actually don't see an example of a query letter in here. Like when you go to woo a publishing company or an agent or what have you, you write them a letter. You write them a query letter. And then from that, they decide, okay, sure, I'd like to see your book, or no, it's not right for us, whatever, and you just keep moving on because there are so many. But I actually don't see a query letter in here yet, and I figured it would be right there. But what I found really, really neat was this part right here, how to use Patreon to engage fans. So right here it talks about building and using a Patreon page, and I am so gonna dive into that because I have a Patreon page. Link in the description. And it's, encompassing both the author side of what I'm doing and the YouTube side of what I'm doing, and making it mesh all together. So there's rewards for everybody, regardless of what kind of a fan you are, author side or YouTube side. So that is awesome. Yes. Oh, I'm so gonna have to get into this. Okay, getting an agent 101. Now here's another thing. Do you get an agent, or do you try to get an agent first, or do you try to go for a publisher first? Do you need you do need an agent to get into certain publishing companies. There are certain companies that will not take a manuscript without having an agent, and I do know that. But you don't have to have an agent. It can get you into places you can't get into yourself but you don't have to have an agent. But how much more beneficial would it be to have an agent? You know, so there's all these questions, and is it more difficult to get an agent first, or is it more difficult to just try and get a publisher first? So much, I just don't know. Which is why this is here. At least I hope that it would tell you definitively, okay, this is, oh look, before the query. Sorry, this is a better option to go for your specific situation. That would be great. That would be great to find in here. The all-inclusive one gives an entire section on agents, and which agency likes certain types of books, and we're going to get into the actual subcategory of what Morowak series is. I have never been able to really pinpoint the subcategory. It's a fiction. It's a fantasy fiction. But what subcategory of fantasy is it? I'm very excited, and we're going to get into that in just a little bit here. So there's, oh gosh, there's a bad agent, there's good agents, and it's telling you here how to find the good versus the bad and making your decisions, and wow. And now there's, in the business section, it's still what to look for when choosing an attorney. I have to have an attorney? What? My guess is that this is down the road when my name has a little bit more weight to it in the author universe. I would guess. Apparently I'm going to have to do some more reading in here, which is not going to happen very soon because I have taken on another massive, I have filled my plate full of wonderful Thanksgiving dinner, and then I decide to cut off an entire turkey leg and throw it on top. That's kind of where I'm at right now. So reading this and getting into this is going to have to wait until I've made some room on my plate. But we're going to talk about that turkey leg that I've just added on in a different episode. And I'm very excited. It'll be fun. But again, now I'm like, ah! So there is a section on literary agents. And okay, yep, it goes into all the agents, how to contact them, what they represent, the agents, the actual agents that are listed within the association, recent sales they've had, their terms, if they are part of conferences, tips. This is really nice. So for example, Agency X, we have their address, phone number, fax, email, website, contact information, and how many clients they currently represent. Very cool. And what they represent, specifically novels, not magazines or stuff like that, novels. And then they consider these fiction areas, or the subcategories, which we'll get into, crime, detective, romance, whatever. Then they have a section, how to contact them. This one specifically is a query with an SASE, self-addressed stamped envelope, or email, and then they'll tell you what to do. They'll tell you how they want you to contact them. One-page query letter, starting with the type of book you're writing, whatever, and they will be very specific to what each agency wants. And sometimes they will even be more specific to the agent. Not all agents want the same thing, even within the company. So this is really good. It'll tell you what all of that is. So then their term. Agent receives 15% of commission, 20% on domestic, 20% commission on foreign sales. And then there's written contracts. You can do, it'll tell you what each one requires for that. It tells you the recent sales, so the recent books that they have on their list that have already been published and are working on great sales. If they're part of a conference, this one's part of a conference, but I don't know if it'll tell which one it is. So anyways, tips, be professional. Always send in exactly what they ask for, no more, no less. Keep query letters brief, to the point. And then this one specifically says, If an agent rejects you, keep trying, because there's a lot of us out there. And that is very true. And there's also a section for magazines. It will tell you the right kind of magazine for your work, what's expected. Oh, and it lists, okay, so it lists all the magazines out there, and just like we read before, what they need, how to contact them, terms, tips, all that kind of stuff as well. Book publishers. Okay, I don't want to close up on this, but for an example, it'll give you an A in a circle, and that means you can only apply to them via agent. So this will tell you if they will even take your manuscript without an agent, or if one's required to do so. And in the front here, it also goes over the little symbols that you'll find with each one. So Market does not accept unsolicited submissions located outside the US or Canada. It accepts only agented submissions, and it goes through specific ones to the company. And there's a nice big section for those too. Now this is neat. It goes into contests and awards. So if you think you have a good manuscript, you can try to get an award and win a contest here, and it tells you a whole bunch of different ones that you can enter your manuscript in. And I have always been a little leery of those, but I think that would really actually be a good idea, because it's getting your stuff out there. And when you know, it's like applying for a job. It's a lot like trying to land an agent, even a publisher, because you need to sell yourself. You're telling them all of your accomplishments, even though you want them to get your book. You want them to take on your manuscript, but you still gotta, you're dressing it up and you're making it, attractive, and you list all of your accomplishments while you're doing it. And then there's a section for conferences and workshops. So, and they go by state. Looks like they go by state. No, it's all alphabetical order. So it looks like you can look them up and find out which ones are concrete and which ones are repetitive and legit. So there's conferences and workshops. A big glossary in the back with different professional organizations. But now we're getting into my subcategories, and it actually has subcategories for every one of them. Let's look at the fantasy subcategories. Okay, there's Arthurian, contemporary, dark fantasy, fantasy alternative, game related, heroic, high fantasy, historical fantasy, juvenile, young adult, and science fantasy. It's not any more conclusive to me now than when I began. I could be high fantasy. I could be science fantasy. And I could be heroic fantasy. Or historic I am heroically high, historically scientific fantasy. We'll go with that. Oh my goodness. So this is definitely worth the read, worth buying, and can help you get into the publishing market via a publishing company with an agent, all of that. I would think this would be one of your biggest guides to getting you that in that direction. Now, as we have discussed before, I don't know if this is the way that I'm going to go. We could self-publish. That's for another Morowak Monday video. But I'm definitely still going to get my hands into this and read it all up, because it can only help even if I decide to self-publish. So we still have plenty of options here, and we'll go through it and figure out what's going to work for us and what's not. Simple as that. Anyway, if you feel like any of this is up your alley, what you need, then like I said, I would highly suggest picking one of these up for you. There are other versions, the condensed versions of the ginormous one out there that are for you. If you are a poem author, if you have specifically nonfiction, it's a huge help if you're going to go in that direction. So I hope this was helpful, a little bit maybe. If not, you know, that's all good too. Let me know if you have any other ideas for efficiently navigating the publication world. That would be awesome to everybody watching. And we will discuss self-publishing another time, because that's our other option. So anyways, I hope you're enjoying this. Leave a like, let me know, and we'll talk to you on another one. Later.